The late afternoon sunlight streamed through the massive windows of the White House residence, bathing the room in a soft, golden glow. Barron Trump, now 19 years old, lounged on the plush leather couch, scrolling mindlessly through his phone. Life as the son of the President of the United States had its perks: security, privilege, access to anything he could ever need, but also its chains. Privacy was a myth. Every text, every call, every email he sent was filtered through layers of security protocols. Or at least, it was supposed to be. As Barron checked his messages, one stood out, a simple, chilling text from an unknown number. "I know your secret. Call me. It's important." Barron's heart skipped a beat. His first instinct was to ignore it. Probably a prank. Maybe even a security test. But as he stared at the message, something about it gnawed at him. Against better judgment, he tapped the number and hit call. The line buzzed for a moment before a voice answered, raspy, old, filled with urgency. "Barron, listen carefully. They're coming for you. And it's not who you think." "What? Who is this?" Barron demanded, sitting up straight. His Secret Service detail, stationed just outside the door, hadn't noticed anything yet. "No time to explain," the voice rasped. "You need to get to the old Washington Library, the abandoned one. Midnight. Come alone." Before Barron could speak again, the line went dead. He sat there frozen, the phone slipping from his fingers onto the couch. Part of him knew he should report it immediately. Call his dad. Alert the Secret Service. But something deep inside, some flicker of intuition, told him not to. This was different. It wasn't fear that gripped him. It was curiosity. That night, Barron pretended to turn in early. He made a show of yawning during dinner, talking about how he had an early online lecture the next morning. His father, President Donald Trump, who was enjoying a well-done steak while bantering about his latest victory in Congress, nodded absent-mindedly and waved him off. At exactly 11:30 p.m., Barron slipped out through a lesser-known service entrance he had memorized during his teenage years, an escape route meant for emergencies. He wore a hoodie, jeans, and sneakers, an attempt to blend in. No armored SUVs. No security agents. Just him, under the cover of darkness, heading toward a place no one visited anymore, the ruins of the old Washington Library, destroyed in a fire decades ago. The city felt eerily quiet as he made his way through back alleys and deserted sidewalks. His mind raced. Who could it be? What secret? What threat? Finally, he saw it, the blackened ruins of the library silhouetted against the night sky. Half the building was collapsed, the rest fenced off and forgotten. Barron approached cautiously, heart hammering in his chest. He slipped through a gap in the rusty fence and stepped inside. The air smelled of mildew and ashes. Suddenly, a figure stepped out from behind a pillar. Cloaked in shadow, the person raised a hand slowly, not threatening but commanding attention. "You made the right choice, Barron," the voice said, calmer now. "Everything you think you know about your family, your country, is about to be tested." Barron's hands clenched into fists, ready for a fight if needed. "Who are you?" he demanded. The figure pulled back the hood. Barron's eyes widened in shock. It was a face he recognized from history books, a face that couldn't possibly be standing before him. It was John F. Kennedy, Jr. Alive. And smiling. Barron stumbled back a step, nearly tripping over a broken chunk of concrete. This isn't possible," he stammered, staring at the man in front of him. John F. Kennedy, Jr., the beloved son of President John F. Kennedy, had died in a plane crash decades ago. Every history book said so. Every documentary. Every news report. But here he was, standing under the collapsed arches of the old Washington Library, very much alive. Kennedy Jr. smiled sadly. "I know what you're thinking. I'm supposed to be dead." That's what they wanted everyone to believe. Barron's mind raced. Was this a trick? A setup? "Why should I believe you?" he asked, trying to keep his voice steady. Kennedy Jr. reached into his jacket and pulled out a weathered leather notebook. He tossed it toward Barron, who caught it instinctively. "Open it," JFK Jr. said. "Page 13. Barron hesitated, then flipped to the page. His eyes scanned the faded handwriting. Diagrams. Codes. Personal notes. Then a photograph, a black and white image of a secret meeting in 1999. In the picture were several men Barron recognized immediately, powerful political figures, media tycoons, and Donald Trump. Except this Donald Trump looked younger, much younger. The caption scribbled underneath read, "The beginning of the alliance. Protect the Republic at all costs." Barron looked up sharply. "My father, he knew about this?" JFK Jr. nodded solemnly. "Your father was approached back then before he was a politician. He was told the truth about the deep state, about the shadow government controlling America behind the scenes. We needed people we could trust. He agreed to help. Barron's heart pounded harder now. All the strange things he'd heard whispered over the years, the secrets, the warnings from his grandfather Fred Trump, they were real? But why now? Why me? Barron demanded. Why send me a message? Because JFK Jr. said quietly, stepping closer, they're moving faster than we expected. Your father's presidency disrupted their plans, but it wasn't enough. They've infiltrated deeper into every institution, media, technology, even parts of the military. We need a new generation to continue the fight. And that means you, Barron. Barron shook his head, overwhelmed. I'm not a politician. I'm just trying to finish college. Kennedy Jr. smiled faintly. Exactly. You're unknown. Underestimated. That's your strength. A gust of wind blew through the shattered windows, sending dust swirling around them. Barron coughed and looked around nervously. What do you expect me to do? He asked. Kennedy Jr. pulled out a small flash drive and pressed it into Barron's hand. Everything you need to know is on there, he said. Names, locations, operations. But be warned, the moment you access it, they'll know. You'll have to decide, stay hidden and safe or step into the fire. Barron stared at the flash drive, feeling its weight like a brick in his palm. His entire life had been comfortable, protected. Now he was being asked to risk it all. Why me? Barron whispered again. JFK Jr.'s eyes softened. Because you have something they fear most. A pure heart. And courage born from it. Suddenly a sharp crack echoed through the ruins, footsteps on broken glass. Kennedy Jr.'s head snapped up. They're here. Barron spun around, heart hammering. Shadows moved at the edges of the broken library. Flashlights. Voices. We have to move, Kennedy Jr. hissed. Without thinking, Barron shoved the flash drive into his pocket and followed. They sprinted deeper into the ruins, ducking behind collapsed walls and dodging crumbling beams. Behind them, men in black tactical gear poured into the building, no insignias, no names, no mercy. This way. JFK Jr. barked, leading Barron to a rusted, half-collapsed service tunnel hidden behind a fallen shelf. As they scrambled into the narrow darkness, Barron felt the first true taste of fear he had ever known. Not fear for himself. Fear for everything he thought he knew about his country and about his family. And there was no going back. They've breached the tunnel. You have 5 minutes. Extraction team en route. Kennedy Jr. cursed under his breath. We need to move. Now. Barron nodded. A surge of determination burning away his doubt. Whatever it took, he couldn't let this chance slip away. Not just for himself, but for his father, for his country, for the truth. Kennedy Jr. grabbed a duffel bag, stuffing essentials into it. Barron secured the flash drive in a hidden pocket zone inside his jacket. They moved fast, exiting through another hidden passage that led deeper underground, into the forgotten arteries of Washington, D.C. As they ran, Barron thought about his life just hours ago, safe, sheltered, ordinary. Now everything had changed. He wasn't just Barron Trump anymore. He was a weapon, and history was about to be rewritten. The old tunnels twisted and turned endlessly. At times, Barron and JFK Jr. had to crawl through collapsed sections or wade through ankle-deep water. The only thing guiding them was the occasional faded marking on the walls, a symbol Barron now recognized, the sigil of the secret alliance Kennedy had spoken of. After what felt like hours, they finally emerged into a dimly lit subway maintenance station. Abandoned, rusted out, and forgotten by most of D.C. A black SUV was waiting there, engine idling. Behind the wheel sat a woman wearing tactical gear and a headset. She stepped out as they approached, her sharp eyes sweeping the shadows. You're late, she said to JFK Jr. We had company, he replied grimly. They know. The woman's eyes flicked to Barron. So this is the kid. Barron bristled at being called that but said nothing. He was too busy scanning the surroundings, every shadow felt like a threat now. Name's Agent Vega, she said, tossing Barron a small earpiece. Put that in. We stay linked. Barron complied, slipping the device into his ear. They piled into the SUV and sped off into the maze of underground service roads that snaked beneath D.C. As they drove, JFK Jr. handed Barron a burner phone. When we get above ground, you're going to make a call, he instructed. A number we've kept dark for years. It'll activate every asset we have left. Barron nodded, heart hammering. He had no idea who he would be calling, but he understood the stakes now. Every second counted. But as they sped through the tunnels, something gnawed at him. A subtle tension in the air. Agent Vega kept glancing at the rearview mirror too often. Barron's instincts, sharpened by pure survival adrenaline, screamed, something's wrong. Suddenly, the SUV jerked to a stop. Agent Vega turned around, pistol drawn. "Hand over the flash drive," she said coldly. JFK Jr. reacted instantly, reaching for his own weapon, but Vega was faster. She fired, a loud crack echoing through the SUV. Kennedy Jr. cried out, the bullet grazing his shoulder and slamming him against the door. "Now!" Vega barked at Barron. "Hand it over, or he dies." Barron froze, mind racing. This wasn't just betrayal, it was a trap from the start. "You were never part of the alliance," Barron said slowly, realization dawning. "You're one of them." Vega smirked. "Smart kid. Too smart for your own good." She gestured with the gun. "The drive. Toss it here." Barron's hands moved slowly to his jacket pocket, but instead of pulling out the drive, he hit a hidden button on the burner phone Kennedy Jr. had given him. An instant later, there was a deafening bang. The back windshield exploded inward as smoke grenades burst around the SUV. Figures in black tactical gear, real alliance operatives, swarmed the vehicle. Vega cursed and fired wildly, but two agents tackled her to the ground before she could get off another shot. Barron ducked down, shielding JFK Jr. as bullets ricocheted around them. Within seconds, it was over. Vega lay pinned on the ground, wrists zip-tied. She glared at Barron with pure hatred. "You have no idea what you're up against," she hissed. Barron stood over her, chest heaving. For the first time, he let his anger show. "No," he said. "You have no idea what's coming." An older man in a dark trench coat approached, one of the alliance leaders Barron recognized from the photo JFK Jr. had shown him earlier. "Good work," the man said, nodding at Barron. "You stayed sharp. That saved both your lives." Barron swallowed hard, adrenaline still flooding his veins. "We need to move," the man continued. "There's a secure site outside D.C. We can finish the data transfer there. After that, it's war." Barron helped Kennedy Jr. into another vehicle, then climbed in himself. As the convoy roared out of the tunnels and into the night, Barron looked back one last time at the wrecked SUV. He wasn't just fighting for survival anymore. He was fighting for America's soul. And he was ready. The convoy sped through the dark Virginia countryside, headlights off, navigating only by infrared and satellite uplinks. Barron sat in the back seat of the lead vehicle, cradling the flash drive like it was a live grenade. JFK Jr., wounded but alert, leaned close. "Once we upload the data," he said, "everything changes. Are you sure you're ready?" Barron tightened his grip on the drive. "I don't think it matters if I'm ready. It has to be done." The car veered off onto a hidden dirt road, winding up to a secluded cabin surrounded by dense forest. It was heavily guarded, with drones circling overhead and alliance soldiers posted at every tree line. Inside the cabin, a war room buzzed with activity. Screens lined the walls, live feeds from news networks, intelligence briefings, encrypted chat rooms. A single terminal sat in the center of the room, connected to a quantum server, hidden deep within the Alliance's infrastructure. "This is it," the trench coat man said, gesturing to the terminal. "Upload it here. Once it's live, every Patriot cell across the globe will get it instantly. And the Praetorians? They'll be exposed to the world." Barron approached the terminal, heart pounding in his ears. He inserted the flash drive. The screen blinked to life, accessing secure files. Suddenly, alarms blared across the war room. Red lights flashed. Barron spun around. "They found us," an agent yelled. On the monitors, drones picked up black SUVs crashing through the forest. Praetorian forces, heavily armed, closing in fast. JFK Jr. drew a weapon with his good hand, barking orders. "Hold them off. We just need 5 minutes." Barron turned back to the screen, hands flying over the keyboard as JFK Jr. dictated a series of cryptographic keys. Outside, gunfire erupted. Barron heard the thud of grenades, the scream of engines, the pop-pop-pop of automatic weapons. It was a full-on siege. The upload bar inched forward agonizingly slow. 15%, 28%, 41%. A nearby explosion rocked the cabin, knocking pictures off the walls. Dust filled the air. Agents fired from windows, holding the Praetorians at bay. Barron gritted his teeth, forcing himself to focus. 62%, 73%. He could hear footsteps now. Praetorian soldiers breaching the perimeter. 87%, 91%. Another explosion blew the door clean off its hinges. Barron ducked instinctively as bullets whizzed past him. Alliance fighters poured into the room, forming a human shield around Barron and the terminal. 99%, 100%. The terminal screen flashed. Upload complete. Initiating broadcast. Across the world, encrypted servers came alive. Newsrooms received anonymous packages. Whistleblower forums exploded with leaks. Social media platforms flooded with documents, videos, names. Every dirty secret. Every hidden betrayal. Every puppet master's face exposed for the world to see. The truth was no longer a secret, it was a wildfire. The lead Praetorian agent stormed into the room, raising his weapon, but stopped cold when he saw the screen. It was over. Barron stood slowly, dust and blood staining his clothes. He looked the agent dead in the eye. "You lost," he said simply. The man hesitated, gun trembling, then, with a snarl, threw down his weapon and surrendered. Outside, sirens wailed as real federal forces loyal to the Constitution, not the corrupt elites, moved in to round up the last of the Praetorians. JFK Jr. limped over to Barron, a proud smile on his face. "You did it, kid." Barron shook his head. "We did it." 2 days later, the world was still reeling. Mass arrests took place on live television. Senators, CEOs, media moguls' faces that once smiled from magazine covers were now led away in handcuffs. President Donald Trump, addressing the nation from the Oval Office, spoke in a voice thick with emotion. "My fellow Americans," he said, "the shadows that have plagued our great country have finally been brought into the light. And we owe an incredible debt of gratitude to one young man who refused to stay silent." He turned to the side and there stood Barron, no longer just the president's son, but a symbol of courage and truth. Social media exploded with hashtags like #BarronTheBrave and #TruthWins. Murals of Barron's silhouette appeared on walls from New York to Los Angeles. Songs were written. Books were started. And somewhere, deep in a rebuilt Alliance headquarters, Barron Trump sat across from JFK Jr., looking at a wall of plans for the future. "What's next?" Barron asked. Kennedy smiled. "Whatever you want it to be. You changed the world once. Maybe it's time you let it." Barron leaned back in his chair, a small smile playing at his lips. He wasn't just a boy anymore. He was the future. And the world was watching.